What's going on, everybody? Just want to get on here and share some information about types of licensing deals and different music contracts and kind of some of the legal terms and stuff that you'll see on just basic contracts and some of these contracts can be pretty intensive, to say the least. I think the biggest one I've ever been offered or whatever is like 26 pages long. And for me personally, you see a contract that long, it's just like, I'm not even interested if you're gonna go this kind of insane on all this legal shit. But like, in general, you have two different types of contracts. One of which is a non-exclusive contract, and the other is an exclusive. I'll kind of just be more geared in this conversation about like publishing contracts, because that's what I'm most familiar with. But with like a non-exclusive publishing deal, it basically allows you to have your music available through them for licensing reasons. For getting your music in media, TV, film, anything that is commercial, that they gotta get a license to use the track. But then it also gives you kind of some freedom to then pitch the track to different publishing people that are also on board with like non-exclusive terms. The biggest thing, it allows you to have one piece of music in multiple different markets basically. It sounds good, and it can be good. It just depends. With that kind of a deal, you gotta look at, there's two ways you make money with licensing. The first is the sync license, which is the upfront money. And then you have back-end royalties, which accumulate, through, time, basically. If you get something on TV and it plays on repeat, as long as it's playing, collect some royalties on the back end. And with each one of these kinds of deals, you got to kind of see how they split that. So with a non-exclusive deal, you can get like a 60-40 on the sync, 50-50 on the sync, which is the upfront. And then you can also have another spot where you look at like the back end, how they're going to split the writers and the publishing share. It just kind of depends on what what you really want. I mean, if some of these deals you get kind of fucked, where it's like you can get 90-10. A lot of major label deals and bigger label deals can be like that, where it's like they want it exclusive, and then they want to take like 90% or 85% of the money, and I don't feel like that's fair. But then the argument against it is like, well, if you have $100,000, and you get 10% of that, 10% of 100,000 is better than 10 or 50% of nothing. So it just kind of depends on what it is and what's going on with it. But then you also have like with non-exclusive publishing deals, a thing that doesn't really get talked about too much is like retitling, which a handful of like publishers will do, where they will take a non-exclusive track and give it a different title, and basically if you're cool with that, they'll register it with like a performing rights organization under this new title, so that when it basically airs on TV or whatever, they got to fill out a cue sheet, and the cue sheet has the title and the publishing associated with it. It's not like a YouTube where it's like a content ID match. It's just based on the title and the numbers that are associated with that track on getting that stuff done. The other type of like contract that you'll see a lot of is, if it's not exclusive, then it'll be exclusive, meaning that it is only available through that particular publisher or label, or whoever. It kind of just boils down to they're the only ones that have control over it, and you can't pitch it any other place or any of that type of stuff. And the thing with like exclusive deals is a lot of times the carrot to do that is it's only in that one place, so the amount of money that can be charged by the publisher is higher, and the thing that happens too with some of these non-exclusive publishers is that they'll have different pricing. So you could have one track being offered for like maybe $1,000 in one spot, but then that same exact track with a different publisher could be 500 or more or less. And so when it comes to like music supervisors and people that pick out the tracks, it kind of gives them a bad taste if it's like, oh, well, I got the same track, I recognize it, but you got one deal over here, we got another over here. But whereas like an exclusive, it's only in that one spot, so they can charge what they feel like will be fair or whatever. And the down, the con, I guess you'd call it, of doing like doing exclusive is that has a potential to do nothing, and then it's just tied in with that particular publisher or whoever and that's another part of like the contract is how long that they will have the exclusivity. Some of them want in perpetuity, which means forever, basically. Even after you're dead, they still control it, which is not the best artist-friendly contract, because if it just sits and does nothing, you basically just gave it to them, and they have a lot of times what's called a reversion clause, which is something, if you're going to sign an exclusive deal, check into that, because a lot of times they'll have a reversion clause, or if they don't, you can pass on it, for one. For two, if it's like a 3-year, 5-year, or however long, then you have that opportunity in however many years to get it back and cancel the deal, which could work out, could not work out. It just depends on how the quality level of the publisher is. If they're moving a lot of it, they're placing it in all sorts of places, then why not let them just keep doing what they're doing? On the other hand, the kind of fear about having an exclusive deal is that you lose it and then it just sits and sits and sits. And so the quality of the publisher is important when signing these deals, and the fairness of the terms is also something to pay attention to. Anything more than 60-40, and it starts boiling, crossing that line of like, are they fucking ripping me off on this? Could be, and it just kind of depends. And so you don't want to be tied up, with legal bullshit if you don't have to. And the thing with like the new music kind of model is that you almost don't want to get hung up on these exclusive deals, that prevents you from doing something in the future. It's not a big deal, if you have like 5-10 tracks exclusively with somebody, but if that exclusive deal prevents you from doing like releasing anything new in the future, that kind of makes you a slave to whoever you got to deal with, and ultimately who wants to be a slave? Not me. And so just wanted to share some of those tips on understanding these contracts, non-exclusive versus exclusive, and hopefully it helps prevent you from just blindly signing something. Especially with some of these label deals, they'll flash some money up front, but in return for that, it's kind of like a loan. It's not free. And with that, you're signing these 90-10 deals, and ultimately for what? For an illusion. And so with that being said, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, and ringing the bell, all that kind of social networking stuff. And other than that, thanks for listening, and have a good rest of your day, and God bless.